But nothing made me prouder than
this undermines the whole architecture of global security. It allows them to go unpunished.
Obamacare gets expanded. Ukraine President Zelensky addresses the UN and basically calls them useless, which they are. And holy cow, there's a story that literally just came across 20 minutes before we came on here that I'm very heated about. Pretty angry. Excitable today. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. It's Daily Caller Live starts right now.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Ooh, live from a dingy bunker completely cut off from the outside world. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. It is April 6th, the year of our Lord, 2022. Obama went to the White House for the first time since 2017, since he left. We'll cover that and what happened there. Zelensky addressed the UN yesterday morning while we were doing the show yesterday. He basically called them useless, which they are. Kind of some funny clips to play there. But I want to get to this story freaking first because it has me heated. Over the weekend, there was a shooting in Sacramento. Shooting was terrible. People died. Awful thing happened. You never want people to die anywhere where they don't need to. That goes without saying. Basically, what I'm trying to convey here is that shootings are bad. Let's have less shootings. But on Sunday morning, so at 2 a.m. Sunday morning, this shooting happens in Sacramento. Sunday morning, the entire news media, the entire lefty media, the entire Democratic Party, all of your big blue states, the governors, the mayors, the Congress people, all start calling for more gun control because they always do when there are these mass shootings that take place. Turns out that wasn't the case at all. And I said this on Monday. Stuff wasn't adding up for me. It didn't add up the fact that, well, there was a driver and apparently people were shooting back. I think, I'm not entirely sure. On Sunday morning, that was the information we had. Usually, in these terrible, awful, bad mass shootings that we have, it's usually one person, generally one guy, who either gets arrested immediately at the scene or shot and killed or kills himself. That's how these things usually work. And so when that didn't happen on Sunday morning, I was thinking, something seems off here. But nevertheless, the entire media, the entire lefty media and the President of the United States and the governor of California and the mayor of Sacramento all came out and said, we need more gun control. But that didn't turn out to be the case at all. Sorry. The mass shooting didn't turn out to be the case at all. They did call for gun control. That's a true and obvious fact. But turns out it was a gang-related shooting, according to the Los Angeles Times now. Trying to get this together right before we got on. Sunday's eruption of gunfire near the state's capital, which left 6 dead and dozens wounded, and a dozen wounded, appears to be the result of a fight between rivals that caught bystanders in the crossfire of automatic and semi-automatic weapons fire. Sources said Tuesday. So I hate to be the one that says I told you so, especially in an instance like this, but freaking told you on Sunday that this didn't add up. This didn't really make sense. That there was a mass shooting, but the shooter got away? They don't do that. When people are deranged and have clear mental problems, they don't get away from scenes. The police announced 2 arrests, including one man with a long rap sheet, and this is a theme we're going to play heavily on in this story, with a long rap sheet who's currently hospitalized with bullet wounds. That man, Smiley Martin, 27, will be booked in the Sacramento County main jail on suspicion of possession of a firearms by a prohibited person and possession of a machine gun as soon as his medical treatments are completed. Martin is the brother of another suspect, Dandre Martin, arrested a day earlier on suspicion of assault with a firearm and being a felon in possession of a gun. The police announced that a third arrest on Tuesday, 31-year-old Davion Dawson, who was seen carrying a firearm in the aftermath of the shooting, did not actually fire it. Dawson is not accused of involvement in the melee, but faces charges about being a prohibited person in possession of a firearm. He had been arrested. He's been released on bail as of Tuesday afternoon. Sacramento Mayor Dale Steinberg, a longtime advocate of gun control, struck a familiar theme on Tuesday, announcing that they will be collaborating with legislative leaders and criminal justice reform advocates on Wednesday to call for immediate and substantial investments in crime prevention and healing services for crime victims. I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but I do have the problem with Darrell Steinberg, who is the mayor of Sacramento, calling for gun control. This is not a gun issue. You're putting a Band-Aid on the place where you didn't get wounded constantly. But Joe Biden decided on Sunday, and I said this on Monday, that he was going to make a big anti-gun stink about it because his polling numbers are failing. Hunter Biden, oh my gosh, do I have a Hunter Biden story? We're not going to get into that right now. But Hunter Biden's laptop has been substantiated by the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, all of your big lefty medias that kick people off of the internet for even suggesting that it might be true a year and a half ago. Given that his poll numbers are tanking and Hunter Biden's laptop is substantiated, Joe Biden needed something desperately to take all of the attention off of his dismal approval rating. And unfortunately, this gun incident was the thing that did it. Calling for more gun control over the weekend, President Biden said, "We need stricter gun laws. Congress needs to act." So not only was it not a gun problem, it was in fact a gang problem. In California, if you haven't heard, crime has been on the rise for the last several years with their soft on crime policies. AB 109, Prop 47, Prop 57. I know if you're not California residents, you probably never heard those before, but being a California resident, I've been dealing with this for a long time, or at least seeing it for a long time. Basically means if you're in possession of something, if you steal something, $950 or less, you get away with it. It's free. It's a traffic ticket, basically, essentially. It's the equivalent of getting pulled over for speeding if you steal anything less than $950. Anyways, all of those things put people back on the streets, not in jail anymore. And guess what? There's a culture of crime that is rising throughout the state of California. And this particular instance that was deemed a mass shooting at the time of a deranged person that shouldn't have a gun. That was how they were going to solve this in California, the place with the strictest gun laws in the country. Instead, turned out to be these are criminals shooting at each other in a gang-related incident. Because California has made criminals so brazenly unafraid of any sort of punishment, they go out and do stuff like this. I was telling my wife about this earlier this morning because I was saying I called it. I called this on Monday. I called it on Sunday, but I called it on Monday on this show and on the TPUSA show on the couch, which hopefully I'm going to go back and rant about that today. About, again, not saying I told you so, but saying we can't jump to conclusions continually all the time. But I was telling my wife about this, about how irritated I was that this is, not a real thing in the way of a mass shooting as the media would like you to believe. She said, and I guarantee you all of those people have records and been released from jail. Well, yeah, that's a great point. I would almost 100% guarantee, actually, not even almost, all of the people that I listed off that were arrested, or at least suspected, had prior gun possession or prior felonies and were criminals not supposed to be in charge of a weapon. So there's that. I'm heated about this. We'll get more of this as the week goes on, but not a mass shooting in Sacramento. It's gang-related violence, in which case the lefty media will probably be very silent in retracting any of their "this was a mass shooting" rhetoric that they've been pushing for the last couple days. Because, like I mentioned again here and on the TPUSA show on Monday, 18 people got shot in Chicago over the weekend. Anybody reporting that? No, because it's gang-related violence. We don't report gang-related violence. We only care about mass shootings, even if we can misdiagnose something as a mass shooting. I don't know where to go from here. Let's talk about healthcare. Obama visited the White House. Not that. So more bad news. Joe Biden yesterday signed an executive order that expands Obamacare, and Obama went to the White House to be a part of that ceremony. I thought this was kind of interesting. This is from, I think, Reuters. While Obama remains a popular figure, Biden faces morbid public approval ratings, thanks in part to high inflation and lingering COVID-19 pandemic. I don't necessarily agree with the reasons why. It's probably because he's a bad president. As a result, Democrats risk losing at least one, if not both, chambers of Congress in November, which would bring Biden's legislative agenda to a halt. Let's listen to the former president talking with the current president. Watch this.
Joe Biden and I did a lot together. We helped save the global economy.
Huh?
Made record investments in clean energy. We put guardrails on our financial system. We helped turn the auto industry around. Repeal, don't ask, don't tell. But nothing made me prouder than providing better health care and more protections to millions of people across this country.
Okay, so, I mean, we can go into the whole Obamacare thing. I've had to deal with this week alone. My wife and I obviously have privatized healthcare, so we don't qualify for the Obamacare, and not that I would want it to begin with. But we have privatized healthcare, and I don't know if you have privatized or company-provided healthcare, but your prices have gone up substantially. Why is that, do you ask? Well, government-provided healthcare doesn't pay the actual price or the cost of the healthcare that the medical system provides. If you don't know this already, government-funded healthcare pays about 70 cents on the dollar for healthcare. And the medical community isn't just going to eat that. No, they pass that on to people who pay actual healthcare costs through their private insurance or through their company or however they get insurance. So in order to subsidize the lack of government healthcare funding and more people getting on this government healthcare funding that doesn't pay the full freight, we have to pay more for our healthcare. I think it was Charles, I'm not sure who it was, but I think it was somebody on Fox News tweeted out a stock photo of one of the Medicare systems that helped write the law of Obamacare, made a ton of money. Who would have thought that, huh? That's super interesting. Biden unveiled a measure to fix, in other words, create worse healthcare for more people. An element of the healthcare law known as the family glitch. I'm not entirely sure what the family glitch was, but it would let family members those who had access to employer-provided healthcare plans ineligible for certain subsidies. And he signed the executive order directing federal agencies to do all they could to expand healthcare coverage. Great. So there's that. Here's a video of Biden. Oh, so this is kind of interesting too. This is, I think, that first more relates to that first paragraph. Obama's still a popular person in the Democratic Party. Not still, is the most popular person in the Democratic Party. All polling would show that. And he just is. He's very smooth and people like him. Not necessarily from a policy standpoint, but he seems like a cool guy. This is what happened after the speech yesterday. Joe Biden was trying to find people to shake hands with. Watch this dumb clip. You're just listening. The president is wandering around without really anybody to shake hands with, and kind of looking around. I don't know where are all the people that are supposed to be, and everybody's gathered around Obama. It's so that's that. Darlene asked, why aren't we hearing more on the shooting? Darlene, hey, appreciate you listening. We covered, I did like 10 minutes on that at the beginning of the show. So at the end of this thing, you can go back and watch the first part. I was heated about that. And I will continue to be heated about that because of how poorly it was covered and how the lefty mainstream media and politicians used it as a talking point for their whatever. Lastly, I want to get to this. Zelensky addressed the UN yesterday. So I've been on the UN is dumb train for a long time. President Trump was on the UN is dumb train, and the reason for that is because we fund pretty much the entirety of the UN. The United States, we pretty much pay for the entire thing. And what do? Answer is not much at all. Let me. I'm going to play this clip. It's long-ish, but this is from Zelensky addressing the UN yesterday. That you can, I don't know, check it out for yourself. See what you think. We'll discuss on the other side.
Dealing with a state that is turning the veto into the UN Security Council into the right to die. This undermines the whole architecture of global security. It allows them to go unpunished. So they are destroying everything that they can. So if this continues, the countries will rely only on the power of their own arms to ensure their security, and not on international law, not rely on international institutions. The United Nations can be simply closed. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to close the UN? Do you think that the time of international law is gone? If your answer is no, then you need to act immediately. The UN Charter must be restored immediately. The UN system must be reformed immediately so that the veto is not the right to die, that there is a fair representation in the Security Council of all regions of the world. The aggressor must be brought to peace immediately.
So Zelensky was addressing the UN Security Council, which also on the UN Security Council, actually, we brought up what the UN Security Council is supposed to do a couple weeks ago. And if I remember correctly, it's like providing security around the world. Which they don't. UN doesn't actually have any sort of military involvement. The only thing they really do is hand out food, and they don't even do that effectively. But everybody's been asking, well, why isn't the UN Security Council doing anything? Why aren't they condemning Russia? Well, you know who also sits on the UN Security Council? Russia. Russia sits on the UN Security Council. And because Russia sits on the UN Security Council, and because they're one of the bigger countries that sits on the UN Security Council, they have veto power over any resolution that doesn't actually do anything that the UN wants to do. Again, Zelensky called out the UN Security Council and basically said, yeah, you guys don't do jack S, man. And he's right, because they don't. And the reason they don't is because for some silly reason, the Russians are still on the UN Security Council with veto power. But finally, somebody else, aside from me, is calling him out for that. Let me see. There was some other Ukrainian information. Okay, so this is just kind of our daily Ukrainian update. Heavy fighting alongside Russian airstrikes are continuing in the besieged Ukraine city of Mariupol, according to an intelligence update from the UK's Ministry of Defense. Earlier, video addressed the UN Security Council. Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the and his question was the same as mine. What does the UN even do? I don't know, dude. Not much. So there's that. If you haven't seen a lot of the photos and videos, so journalists and videographers and people who are on the ground there in Ukraine were finally able to get to, we haven't played any of this stuff, but over the weekend there was a lot of striking images that started to come out and be shown on TV and all over Twitter and social media. Holy cow. It's not look good at all. And people are starting to really, really get upset about it, which we'll see in the next coming days, weeks, months, how that all plays out. But that's I guess, our Ukrainian update for the day. I don't know. See what happens there. Hopefully less people die. That's going to do it for us today. We appreciate you tuning in, checking us out. If you haven't already, go follow on Facebook. Sorry, I feel like a depleted a little bit, just because, holy cow, was I mad this morning about this mass shooting turned Sacramento shooting. But if you get the chance, go follow me on social media, at JOBOB on Instagram, at JOB on Facebook, YouTube, and all of the just type in JOBOB, you'll find me. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. Actually, we've got some interesting interviews coming up right after this that we're going to film with some members of Congress from the Energy and Commerce Committee. They've got a hearing today with a bunch of big oil people. H.R. McMaster is also testifying. The big-time lefty media is going to use it as a hit thing, so we figured, hey, let's get some Congress people maybe from having some opposing views from the mainstream narrative. See what they think, how they're going to spin those questions. So we'll get to that a little bit later on in the day, and then also air those interviews tomorrow. Appreciate you staying tuned, sticking with us. See you tomorrow. God bless America.